touch on other ramifications of media using a peer-reviewed journal titled Anti-Muslim Sentiment on Social Media in China and Chinese Muslims' Reaction to Hatred and Misunderstanding. So lots of the conversation that's been happening throughout this video series is media representation. I mean, does this matter, right? I mean, do minorities, especially working class minorities, really care if there's enough Asian superheroes in some stupid Disney Avengers film, right? I mean, for the lay person, does this have any sort of impact, right? Which is why I'm focusing on this article, because as we know, the oppression of the Uyghur Muslims, internment camps, all of these atrocities that are happening that have been documented and suppressed by the Chinese government, it's an actuality that's happening. And this article looks at how the influence of media, right? This study uncovered that mainstream Chinese news coverage has been largely negative towards Islam and the effect that Islam has on the socio-cultural attitude of mainstream Chinese people, right? We see that in many other depictions also, right? The influx of refugees in Europe, for example, right? This article is interesting because it looks at the development of how prejudice, outgroup bias against a minority group in a seemingly homogenous country like China, which prides itself on ethnic identity and having this collective Chinese origin, right? How this development through this past decade can lead to such a thing like these internment camps in the Uyghur province happening, right? And we can see this bar graph here that looks at the influx of social media posts about Muslims after the death of Aylan Kurdi, right? So this is a very interesting example of how a mainstream news coverage of a single incident, right, the death of a refugee from Syria in Turkey, led to a explosion of different posts, right? And this article goes into how that subsequently led to Muslims trying to use social media to defend their beliefs, educate people on who they are, what they represent, how their beliefs have commonalities with the Chinese people, right? And I would strongly recommend a book that I'm reading called Chinese Gleams of Sufi Light, right? Which talks about the deeply perennial, innate spiritual wisdom between Chinese ideologies, right? Confucianism, Taoism, even imported Buddhism, and Islam. Yes, media representation can do a lot too, right? But I firmly believe that at the core, the heart of this issue, it is a spiritual deficit, right? We're not able to look past our own preconceived ideas of the world and connect with other people, right? We're so far entrenched into our own ideologies, right? Being a nationalist, being a patriot, being a Muslim, being a Confucianist, right? We're so landlocked in our own minds, right, that it's hard for us to look at other experiences of human consciousness, right? And that can also be spiritual ideas too, right? Looking at that as the same distillation, the same essence that comes from the same oneness, right? Educating the population, the mainstream population of China on the influence of Islam in their world, in their country, in their culture, right? Using things like social media, short films, documentaries that are shown to the mainstream public, that are accessible. You know, those are things that can immensely influence the individual and collective worldview of a population and lead to more harmony between people, which is what we want. So thank you so much for joining today's channel. I would give a shout out to my website, psychicexpert.com. You can sign up on the front page to the newsletter to stay up to date with all the different developments we have going on. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much.